Hey guys, welcome to another pre-release guide video for the upcoming Magic the Gathering set, Dominaria. Today we are going to be talking all about the best combat tricks in the set so that you are well prepared for your pre-release coming up this evening or this weekend. We want to make sure we cover all of them. That way you know what to look for, if your opponent has what type of mana up, if your attacks are going to be fruitful, and you want to make sure you want to know what combat tricks are in the set. That way when you're building your set, building your deck, you know what to build and how to win combat, because as we all know, limited and sealed and draft they all have one thing in common. They are all one on the battlefield with the best creatures and the most common combat tricks. So these are going to be the ones that you're looking for to play. But before we get into those combat tricks, I want to invite you to watch our last 3 episodes of this pre-release guide. We talked about the uncommon gold legendary creatures, broke all 10 of those down in our first episode. Our second episode was our best creatures, so those are the ones in every color pair at common and uncommon, the ones that you're going to see the most of in your draft, sealed and limited pools. And then last night we talked about best removal. Those are the cards you're going to want to look out for when you're attacking in, and you want to make sure you get through your damage. So let's go ahead and jump right into the best combat tricks, and what better place to start than the king of combat tricks, green. So first up we have Gift of Growth. This is 1 green, 1 generic for an instant at common. It says untap target creature. It gains +2/+2 until end of turn. It has a kicker cost of 2 of anything, and if this spell was kicked, the creature gets +4/+4 until end of turn instead. So this is a huge blowout card, right? Your opponent's attacked in and you're all tapped out and you're like, all right, good, defenses are down, he's only got 2 mana up, I'm just gonna swing all in, and lo and behold, they've got the +2/+2 and they're untapping a creature. That's rough. This card will be harder to spot as the game goes on, because as the game continues to go on, less and less mana is getting used because cards are getting played quicker. So if they have 4 mana up, this is definitely one of those things that you're gonna have to look out for. So just be cautious of it. Know that it's +4/+4 and it's not +3/+3, because it's not giant growth. So just be cautious of that. Make sure you do your math and your combat math correctly so that you do not get blown out. Wild Onslaught is next. It's 1 green, 3 generic for an instant at uncommon. It has a kicker of 4 generic. It's put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. If the spell was kicked, you put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. So at 4 mana, their whole team's getting bumped up +1/+1 at instant speed. So be cautious of that. I know we just talked about Gift of Growth and +2/+2 if they have 2 mana, and +4/+4 if they have 4 mana. This is going to get a little confusing, right? If they have 4 mana, then they're only going to get they have +1/+1 on each creature. So that's something that we're going to have to contend with. Do they have a Gift of Growth with kicker, or do they just have a Wild Onslaught by itself? Now, obviously, if they have 8 mana, it's a whole nother ball game. Just be cautious of these 2 spells. It's common and uncommon, so you're gonna see them. You're definitely gonna see the giant. I already said giant growth. The Gift of Growth. You're gonna see that if they're in green, almost guaranteed. Arbor Armament is next. It's 1 green instant at common. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and that creature gains haste until end of turn. So it's a little bit of a bump. The reason why I want you to be cautious with this is, especially with those blue and white decks and some of the black decks, those flyers that you have, a lot of them have 2 toughness, and if they drop this on their 2-drop, that's a 2/2, and they make it a 3/3, you're going to lose out on your flyer real quickly, and that's going to open up to some pain, especially if they're playing green, because that 3rd, 4th, 5th turn, there's some really good common and uncommon creatures. Make sure you go back and check out that video of the best uncommon and common creatures. But what I'm saying here is we need to make sure that how much toughness your creature has and what they have on the battlefield. If they've got 1 green mana open, and they've got a 2/2 on the battlefield, your 2/2 flyer or 3/2 flyer or whatever is not safe. So just make sure you've got an answer for this armament. Jeez, I can't even say it right. There we go. All right, moving on. We've got a couple more green. Ancient Animus is next. 1 green, 1 generic, instant at common. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control if it's legendary. Then it fights target creature an opponent controls. Each deals damage to its power to the other. So, here's the thing. This isn't going to be a pump spell. So let's read this over again. So put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control if it's legendary. So they don't have to have a legendary creature in play. All they have to do is have a creature in play. If it's a legendary, then it gets the +1/+1. Otherwise, it's literally just fighting another creature. So this is going to be, again, we didn't put this one in our removal spells. Maybe we should have, but this is a very good one. It's conditionary because you have to have the creature in play for it to actually be removal. On the other hand, if it's legendary, it's going to give it a little bit of a bump. Just be cautious of it. It is going to be in the common slot, so you're going to see a few of them. And if your opponent has legendary creatures out, just know that this is a possibility that's going to hit the battlefield. It's at instant speed, so fight spells at instant those are always a bear to deal with, especially when you cast your creature for the turn and pass a turn, and then during your end step they cast this and get rid of that creature. It's bad news bears. So if you're behind and you're playing green, playing against green, just make sure that you're aware that this is a thing. Next up is kind of a different combat trick. Spore Swarm is a 1 green, 3 generic instant at uncommon, and it just simply creates 3 1/1 green sapling tokens. Now, this isn't a traditional combat trick. This is more of kind of like it could be used as a way to bluff creatures. You've attacked all out, and they're waiting for the swing back. So you just need to be cautious. If your opponent swings all in, they could that might indicate that they have one of these in their hand, and if you swing back on the kickback, they've got some blockers, and now you're tapped out instead. So make sure you're blocking those, that first attack. And let them cast this Spore Swarm on the end of your turn rather than when you go for your attack. So just be cautious of that. 3 1/1s for 4 mana isn't the best ratio, but Saplings does have some use case scenarios in this set. So yes, be very, very cautious. Moving on to white, we've got Adamant Will is 1 green, 1 generic for an instant at common. Target creature gets +2/+2 and gains indestructible until end of turn. So this could be used for a couple different things. This could be used on offense. It could be used on defense. So there's definitely, if you're playing against white, it's at common, so you have to be cautious of it. However, make them have it. When you attack with, if they have a 2/2 and you have a 3/3 and they attack in, block it. Just block it. If they have it, then you at least got rid of the instant, right? You stopped the damage. Your creature was gonna die anyway. This, at the end of the day, if they have it, you just 1 for 1. You just trade it. That's fine. Charge is next. It's 1 white for an instant at common. Creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. This buffs everybody on the team, so just be aware of that. Things that go unblocked, those Sapling tokens we talked about in green before, those are 1/1s. If they have that plus this, those are going to be 2/2s. So when they block, that's a nice little combo there. They can take down some of your bears and things like that. So that's another one that you might want to keep an eye out on. This is also going to end games. So if you're at the end of if you're at 10 life or whatever, and they're swinging in with 3 guys for 7 damage, do not mistake that 1 measly white mana sitting on the side there. Make sure you count that up, and do not sell yourself short. Block one of those guys. We always say use your life as a resource, but if you're that close, if it's going to be that close, just assume that they have it and block one of the guys. So Next up, we have a spell that was in our removal set, Gideon's Reproach. It's 1 white, 1 colorless. It's at instant speed at common, so you're going to see a lot of these. It's great removal. It's an awesome combat trick. It's going to get you every time when you're attacking for sure. 4 damage, kills a lot of things. A lot of things. In limited, in sealed, in draft. Attacking is how you're going to win the game. That's how your opponent's going to win the game. So having these in your arsenal, 2 to 3 of these in limit or in sealed is a great idea. Just because of the randomness of the actual set of the cards that you get, you'll be able to take down a lot of things. Now, in draft, on the other hand, 1 or 2 of these will probably be your best bet because of the card selection that your opponents and the players get. The first and second one are great. Second one not as good, but the third one is definitely not as good as the first 2. So they drop off real quickly. So sealed 3 is great. Draft 1, 2 at the max. All right, and our last white card. I put this in here. And the first time I read it, I was like, "Oh, this card's garbage. I'm not. This is no one's ever gonna play this. It's not worth it." But Healing Grace is 1 green at common. It's an instant. Prevent the next 3 damage that would be dealt to any target this turn by a source of your choice. So this could be you. This could be a creature you control. This could be a planeswalker you control. This could be if you're in Two-Headed Giant. Let's see here. Prevent the next 3 damage that would be dealt to any target this turn. Right. So this could be one of your opponent, or not one of your opponents, one of your teammates' creatures. This could go a long way. You also gain 3 life, which isn't, it's not a lot. But when you look at this, giving a creature +0/+3 until end of turn is a great card, right? It's a good combat trick. It'll stop. You'll be able to block again. You might be able to save your creature if they're attacking with a 3/3 into your 3/3. You can save your 3/3, gain some life along the way. It definitely has some interesting corner cases. Both you're not going to pick it high in draft. In sealed, you're only going to put 1 in your deck. Draft, it'll be your very last card that goes into your deck, and after that, it'll get cut. But at the end of the day, the two abilities combined, the preventing 3 damage to any target, which is great, as well as the 3 extra life. That's worth 1 mana in my opinion, and a card for sure. Next up, we've got red and black. Red, we have Run Amok is 1 white, 1 generic, and 1 red. Instant at common. Target attacking creature gets +3/+3 and gains trample. I cannot read this evening. Target attacking creature gets +3/+3 and gains trample until end of turn. This is something, obviously you can't use this on the defense. It's only on the attack. However, when you're chump blocking, just be cautious. Trample's a thing. Giving a 2/2 or a 3/3 or even a 1/1 sapling. If they're playing girl and red green and they give one of their saplings +3/+3 and trample, and you block it with a 1/1 or don't block it, that's 4 damage to your face from a sapling token. So that's, on a pumpable creature, that's a thing. In the wizard deck, this is going to be a huge boost to the wizards, especially when they're getting +1/+1 off of the uncommon legendary creature in blue-red. Fervent Strike is next. It's 1 red for an instant at common. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains first strike and haste until end of turn. Holy smokes. Really, this is going to be one of those things where the extra point of damage and first strike are going to be the top 2 priorities. Haste on there it's kind of weird. Obviously, you have to if you're planning on using the haste ability, you have to use this before combat. Maybe you could probably use this when you enter into combat. But at the end of the day, this is gonna ruin some lives. Target creature gets +1/+0 and first strike, meaning if I attack you with my 3/3 and you block with your 3/3, I can cast this in response. Mine's now a 4/3, and it deals the 4 damage first. And vice versa, if I have a 3/3 and you have a 2/2, normally their 2/2 would die. But if they attack in, this is something that they could possibly have to get rid of one of your. Now, if you have a grizzly bear, for instance, and they have something else, 1/1 or whatever, like a sapperling, and they attack in, I wouldn't risk losing your grizzly bear because you can just snap back and attack for 2, and now you're winning that race. Now later on down the road, if you're going to be using one of your finishers, one of your bomb rares to block something, that's when you want to be cautious. You want to make sure if they've got one open red and they have, they're attacking with something that's, 1 power less than your toughness, that this isn't gonna blow you out, because it will. Next up in black, we have Blessing of Belzalok. This is 1 black at instant common. Target creature gets +2/+1 until end of turn, and if it's legendary, it also gets lifelink. The legendary thing is just icing on the cake. The +2/+1 till end of turn will finish off. That will trade this instant for the creature every time. So if they're in black, just assume that they have it because it's common level, so they're going to open up 2 of them, possibly 3 of them in sealed. In draft, they're probably going to draft 2 of them late picks in draft. In that pack 3, if they're in black, this is going to be a higher pick if they don't have anything else in color in that pack. So this is definitely something that you want to look out for. Kind of like with Fervent Strike, the +2/+1 it's better than the +1/+0, obviously, and the where it's lacking is the no first strike. However, the 1 defense might put you over where it's saving your creature even without the first strike. So just be cautious. The 1 red, 1 black, those mana types, that's where you want to pay very close attention to what you are what you are blocking and what they are attacking with. It'll be a very tall tale. If you can spot it, you're gonna save some creatures. You're gonna take some damage, but you'll be able to save some creatures, or you might be able to block effectively. Blocking with like a 5/5 to their 3/3 or whatnot in the Fervent Strike case. But in against a black mage, then you're gonna have to either choose to take the damage or because you can think about the swing back, right? If they're attacking with their big guy, you're like, I'm just gonna take it, and then I'm gonna swing back with more damage. So then, moving on to blue, we've got a couple flash creatures. Put these in here. They're not necessarily combat tricks, but they do provide some type of spell-like ability on them. So Merfolk Trickster, we've talked about before. It's a 2/2 for 2 blue. It's that uncommon Merfolk Wizard with flash, so you can cast it during your opponent's turn when you have priority. And it says, when it enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls. It loses all abilities until end of turn. So normally, the tap target creature you'd want to cast before attacks are chosen. But in this instance, you don't. Because you want them to attack with their huge death touch or their flyer or whatever it is, right? Their bomb rare that has all these abilities stacked up on it. You want them to attack with it, right? You don't want to prevent them from attacking with it. You want them to attack with it. So when this enters the battlefield, you target the creature and it loses that list of abilities, and then you can block it with something that will kill it. Obviously, this you can't target a creature with hexproof. That's the one ability that this kind of falls short on. So that's a thing. So if you're playing against a blue mage, you want to be cautious. If they've got a creature that has death touch, or if you're attacking with your flyer. Flying, I think, is going to be the huge case scenario here. Is if you're attacking with your flyer, because most of them are very vulnerable, and usually if it's a turn, let's say it's like Sarah Angel, for instance, right? That's a turn 5 a 5-drop, right? 5 mana for a 4/4 flyer. By turn 5, they probably have a land creature that has a power of 4 or more, right? So what is going to end up happening is if you're like, oh, well, they've got a couple guys on the battlefield, but they don't have any flyers. So I'm going to go ahead and swing in with my 4/4 Serra Angel. They play this, right? They target the Serra Angel. It's already tapped, or at first it's going to tap because now it doesn't have vigilance. And it's going to lose vigilance, it's going to lose flying, and now they can block it with their 2, their 3, and their 4-drop. Possibly 5-drop if they've gone first. So just be aware, 2 mana in blue, if you've got a flyer and they don't, that's kind of like where you need to focus in. Keep in mind though, this isn't uncommon, so there's not going to be a lot of them, but if they're in blue, chances are they might have a copy of it. Also in blue, we have another flash creature. It's a 5 mana for a 3/3 Sentinel of the Pearl Trident. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile target historic permanent you control. If you do, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. This really doesn't do anything as far as combat's concerned, except for blocking one of your 3/3s or chump blocking, or any number of things to interrupt combat. But at the end of the day, they're gonna chump block something, and then they're also gonna be able to flash back something. So if they have like a some type of lockdown enchantment on one of their creatures, or let's say they have a saga in play and they can kind of refresh that or whatever, just be aware that this is a thing. It's not going to come up very often because it's 5 mana for a 3/3. Most blue mages won't put this in their deck unless they have enough targets for it. So you probably don't have to. You have to worry more about the Trickster, the Merfolk Trickster, versus this Pearl Trident Sentinel. But I just want to make sure everybody's aware of it. And then the last slide here, we've got a couple of legendary creatures from the Gold series here with Flash. Raph Chapson is the Ship's Mage. It's 1 blue, 1 white, 2 generic for a 3/3 at uncommon. It's got Flash, Flying, and you may cast historic spells as though they had Flash. So again, this is kind of like the Pearl Trident Sentinel. This isn't going to be much of anything other than I'm going to flash this in and block. Very rarely will you see someone hold off on casting one of their historic spells, like a Saga or whatever, until they can cast this. You'd have to wait till like a turn 10 when you could cast this and the historic spell. So 9 times out of 10, this is going to be at the end of your turn. I'm going to cast this in and block. Right. The other corner case scenario is at the end of your turn, I'm going to cast this. And then the beginning of their turn, they're gonna leave their stuff on tap, draw a card, pass turn, go, and then they're gonna start casting their stuff as though it had Flash. If they get to untap with this though, that means their legendary creatures are now flashable creatures. So then now you have to play around that weird combat phase where you're like, well, every creature now is a combat trick at this point. So just be cautious. So just be aware that this 3/3 is available. It does have flying, so it's not going to take down your Serra Angel by any stretch of the imagination. But it will be able to block those flyers. And like I said, a lot of the flyers in blue and in white, and even some in black, have 3 toughness. So in a way, this is almost like a removal spell for those creatures. So last up we have Garna the Blood Flame. This is 3 generic, 1 black, 1 red for a 3/3 of Flash. When it enters the battlefield, or when he enters the battlefield rather, return to your hand all creature cards in your graveyard that were put there from anywhere this turn. Other creatures you control have haste. Putting this in here is just a matter of it having Flash, right? Kind of along the same lines of the Ship Mage and the Trident Sentinel. It literally has Flash. It's a 5 mana 3/3 with Flash. You're probably not going to see it in combat very often unless you're going for like the final kill. Other than that, the other corner cases, they're going to, after they block everything and all their stuff dies, they're going to bring this back into flash this into play and bring all their stuff back. So just be cautious of that, because if they are in red and black and you swing all out, let's say you are your favorite in combat, right? You've got a bunch of 4/4s, 3/3s, and 2/2s, and all they have is some goblins in play. They're in black and red. And you're like, okay, I've got them down to 2, or I've got them down to 3. I'm at 5 mana, or I'm at 5, I'm at 6 life, whatever. If I swing in now, I can take out their entire team, and then I'll kill them on the following turn, right? So you swing all in, and they block, right? They flash this guy in after combat, obviously, and all those guys come back to the play. Right, they go, or they return to your hand, and then on the next turn, right, boom, they're just goblin, and this guy's granting haste, and voila, they're swinging in for an exorbitant amount of damage, and you have no blockers. So just when combat is in your favor and you're playing against a red-black mage, look at what mana they have up. If they've got 5 mana up, you do not want to attack all out. You want to make sure you save some guys back for the crackback with when they attack back. You want to assume that they probably have some type of removal spell. So maybe just attacking with 1 creature on your side, leaving up 2 creatures to block. That way you can make sure you block their biggest guy and keep your life total above 0. All right, guys, that has been the video for today. I really appreciate you guys watching. I hope you guys are getting some good information out of this. Let me know in the comments section below how your pre-release is going. Looks like we'll be starting pre-release here actually in about 3 hours. So if you're one of those guys that goes at midnight, good luck. Hopefully you open some awesome cards, awesome rares, some great mythics, win some pre-releases for us. We will be coming back here tomorrow to talk about the best two-headed giant cards. Pretty much if you read the cards real closely, there are certain cards, the way they are worded, target player loses, each opponent loses 3 life, right? That means each opponent, so both of your opponents are losing 3 life, so that's 6. Versus target player loses 3 life, now you're only talking 3 damage. So we will be breaking down all those cards that say each opponent in the set for tomorrow. That way when you go to your two-headed giant releases on Saturday and Sunday, you'll be extra ready for those magnificent cards. That great word of each. That is the greatest word when you're playing the two-headed giant format. So at any rate, thanks for watching. Make sure you get subscribed. Leave us a comment below. We'll see you back here tomorrow. If you get a chance, head over to twitch.tv/72DPI online. On Monday, we'll be talking about Mana Drained podcast and all about our pre-release from the weekend. My son and I will be attending a two-headed giant event, so we'll have some cards. Maybe we'll have him on to talk some shop with us. But other than that, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great evening.